Tamer Azer. I'm a partner at Shuruk Partners, and I'm a VC, which means that I raise capital from institutional investors who want exposure to the technology industry. We raise that capital and then we go and invest it in other companies, technology companies that are solving fundamental problems across the region from Morocco all the way to Pakistan. At Shuruk Partners, we really are extremely bullish on the Egypt market. We see a tremendous opportunity here, even though the economy might not be where we want it to be. We still believe in the talent, we still believe in the opportunity, we still believe that innovative companies and innovative founders are coming out of this country. This country is attracting a lot of talent. Egyptians that have lived abroad, Egyptians that are in big corporate, that is driving an opportunity for all of these people to actually build companies that can have a meaningful impact on people's everyday lives, whether it's sort of consumer goods or B2B. There are people building really fantastic companies here, and it's a tremendous opportunity for us at Shuruk Partners. And we've built a big team here, and we're very keen on continuing to invest here and to find the best founders across the market. As a VC investor, my job is to help organizations and individuals that want to invest in alternative assets like technology companies, identify the right investment opportunities, and once I invest, I help these companies scale and grow to a point where they can generate a return for those people who want to invest in the asset class. Over my career, I've invested in probably close to 30 or 40 companies. When I first came back to Egypt maybe 7 years ago, the ecosystem was maybe 10, 12 people. And it was quite small and it was very intimate. Everybody knew everybody. There were no surprises, no hidden gems. Everyone was kind of very much out there. Today, it went from 10 or 12 people to maybe, 100,000 people. So the ecosystem has grown tremendously. We've all reached a point where we definitely don't know everybody. And it's really nice to see that. It's really nice to see that it's gone from an ecosystem to a full-on community of people who want to do something meaningful. In the last year or so, capital went from being very cheap and accessible to being very expensive and inaccessible. It's become a lot harder for companies to raise money. It's become a lot more difficult to prove that your business makes sense. A lot of investors are looking at paths to profitability. You can't just sort of expect that profitability will eventually occur. There needs to be a very clear path towards it. And many people have been talking about unit economics, which is a bit too early. But actually what makes a lot more sense is to look at a path towards that profitability or a path towards unit economics that makes sense. Because even though we are shifting away from growth at all cost, we are still expecting a level of growth that will achieve that profitability imminently. So for a really long time in Egypt, companies, especially tech companies that were coming up, were solving really basic problems, right? Access to food, access to education, access to healthcare. Many of the companies were Me Too companies where a lot of people saw how people solve problems in other markets and then they came to replicate it here. But for the first time in a while, we're actually starting to see new to market innovation. We're starting to see companies in biotech like Protinia, which is a company that we invested in. We're starting to see companies in life sciences. We're starting to see companies that are truly building new to market innovations. And that is a really exciting thing to see. And that's a space that I'm extremely excited about. Startups are going through a transition period. First, they were getting a tremendous amount of access to capital. Today, that capital isn't exactly there as much anymore. And many companies need to accept the fact that it's going to take them a lot longer to raise, and they might not raise capital at the terms that they like, or they might not raise capital as quickly as they like. So many of them need to really focus on extending how much time the capital that they raise can carry them. They need to be prepared for periods where many of the investors are going to do way more due diligence. Many of the investors are going to take a little bit longer to make decisions because the opportunity cost has just grown tremendously for any investor deploying capital anywhere in the region. So while the rest of the world is going through a bit of a slump, there may be a moment in the sun here for many of the GCC countries. The price of oil has generated a tremendous amount of capital. The energy crisis with the war in Ukraine and Russia have created an opportunity for these countries, and to see that this capital is being invested in a future of innovation is a really exciting time for all of us, I'd say. And there's a tremendous opportunity for companies and entrepreneurs and founders who are looking to grow and scale and innovate to find traction and to find capital and to find opportunity, whether in potential customers or access to capital from the GCC versus the rest of our region. So while many of the countries in North Africa or the Levant are seeing slightly slower times, the GCC is expected to grow beyond many of the other countries in the region, which creates an opportunity for a lot of the companies that were used to certain growth metrics from, say, Egypt or Pakistan to start looking at Saudi Arabia and to start looking at the UAE as genuine markets with tremendous potential to grow by accessing these markets. Mindsalike came at a time when the ecosystem was so small. It's a bit funny to say that, but it was just us, right? It was very small. We all knew each other. We all sort of looked forward to meeting once a quarter. We knew everybody who was going to be there. Everybody expected everybody else to be there. No one had any expectations going into it. So everybody was very excited about just an opportunity and a space to hang out without anybody asking anybody anything or asking for anything, which is a very unusual kind of space to be when you're representing capital and you're representing investment capital that many people want. So the best part about it was that it was just an event without us having an agenda, and everybody was just really excited to be there for the sake of being together. As much as I've enjoyed the fact that the ecosystem has been small for a very long time, and as much as I've enjoyed the exclusivity of Mindsalike and the fact that it was just open to people by invitation, I think it's time for us to grow. It's time for us to be more inclusive. It's time for us to be more accessible as an ecosystem and as a market. We represent a tremendous opportunity for Egypt. The market has grown tremendously in the last 5 or 6 years, and it's time for us to really sort of give back, so give other people access to what we've enjoyed for the last 6 or 7 years. The fact that no one had an agenda coming into Mindsalike and the fact that no one had any expectations from anybody else coming into Mindsalike is one of the things that make Mindsalike very different. Every other event has a very specific agenda, has a very specific expectation. But with Mindsalike, the only expectation was that we spend time with each other. So for the past few years, we haven't really been spending time together. Many of us have been communicating over video, Zoom, Teams, whatever. We haven't really been spending that much time together. And I think it's really important for us to start thinking about bringing that back and spending more time together in person, having in-person meetings, having coffee with people, instead of just kind of having this abstract digital meetings that happen, and then you forget that our business is actually a business of relationships. It's a business of getting to know the people that you work with, and spending that time together actually makes us all better for it.